We just defunded the ATF. That's right, it's nice to take a victory lap every once in a while in the Second Amendment world. The anti-gunners and their minions always seem to be coming up with some new evil plan to take away your natural right to self-defense. But this year, we hit them with a 1-2 punch. If you haven't seen our video on how we beat Biden and forced him to stop the VA fiduciary rule, which prevented veterans from buying a gun if they had a financial advisor, be sure to click the link below to watch that. Now here's the left hook. We also forced Biden to cut the ATF's budget by $122 million. Now this is a huge win for gun owners. Now, we haven't eliminated the whole ATF and all of federal gun control, so you know we have a lot more work to do. But this is still a huge deal. For one thing, this is the largest cut in the history of the ATF. Ever since the Titans of Tyranny were founded in 1973, there's never been a bigger reduction of cash in the pockets of the bureaucrats who want you disarmed and unsafe. Breaking down the $122 million cut, $75 million were taken away from construction, and the remaining $47 million was directly from the ATF's operation. That means less gun-grabbing agents out there looking for that 15.9-inch barrel or shoestring machine guns. What's even better is that this is the complete opposite of what Joe Biden wanted. In 2023, the presidential budget proposal was a 13% increase in their budget. Before this cut, ATF's budget had ballooned almost 36% larger under Biden and over 50% larger since the Obama administration. Now, the ATF didn't plan to get their budget slashed, so right now they're scrambling to figure out who needs to go. We'll be sure to update you on exactly how many feds aren't getting your tax dollars to take your property when we learn it. And the second part, we've shown the entire GOP and leadership that they can make impactful cuts to the ATF without losing. Normally, politicians are too afraid to cut the ATF's budget because the left has tried to convince them that they're a law enforcement agency. Trying to compare the ATF, who wanted to turn 40 million Americans into felons for owning a pistol brace, to agencies actually going after violent criminals is a delusional word game these leftists are playing. Other members had a concern that cutting the ATF budget would mean they would cut off Americans' access to firearms, like holding the unconstitutional NFA approval times hostage. Well, that's exactly why GOA warned Congress against cutting funding without putting in protections against this bullying tactic. In the end, these protections were added to the bill. Actually, this bill not only protected gun owners, but it pushed the ATF to improve their ridiculously long waiting times. Oh, and wouldn't you know, ATF seems to have finally gone off their butts and e-forms are getting approved way faster. Also, there's a neat little fix the ATF is supposed to make where you won't have to resubmit your paperwork if something is incorrect, and you can just update your existing form. But don't worry, we're not gonna get all high and mighty off of just one win. We want it where the ATF and all federal gun control, like the NFA, are eliminated. And we're not gonna stop there till we get it. And the fight's far from over. President Biden, just after signing the historic ATF budget cut, asked for a 20% raise to the ATF's budget next year. That would balloon the budget to almost $2 billion. I'll run you through some of the ridiculous requests. First up, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, or the Corner-Murphy Compromise as we like to call it. Yep, that 2-year-old bill is still bringing out more and more gun control. Biden's DOJ wants $125 million for the ATF and FBI for continued implementation of a bunch of garbage, including backdoor universal registration checks through the Engaged in the Business rule, which, as a quick recap, could have you charged with being an illegal dealer without even selling a gun. De facto waiting periods for 18 to 20-year-olds to purchase firearms. Federal funding for red flag gun confiscation laws. Which is kind of suspicious that the DOJ waited until after the funding bill to just find the money necessary to start their own red flag resource center with Johns Hopkins University. And a ban on funds being used to arm or train teachers to defend classrooms with effective tools, such as firearms. This bill would also increase the total number of ATF bureaucrats working on the Corner-Murphy gun control laws by over 350%. That means 272 more anti-gun tyrants at the agency enforcing all the terrible laws I just listed. In total, the budget asked for 675 new positions at the ATF, with 199 of those being more agents to enforce whatever new malicious gun control Biden thinks up. And finally, they want $44 million to expand their gun registration facility in West Virginia. This is the home of the gun registry that GOA uncovered a few years ago, and they want to grow it even larger. They say they need it to expand their storage for confiscated guns, which they already have 14,000 of, and also start confiscating 3D printers. Now there's gonna be some Gifford spy in the comments saying something like, oh well, the tracing center is actually useful for law enforcement. And to that I say, listen to the director of the ATF, Steve Dadelbach, say the exact opposite. In 2021, he said that fewer than half of the nation's law enforcement agencies even use the trace system.
ATF for processing. I understand fewer than half of the nation's law enforcement agencies utilized the program in 2021. which undermines your ability, as I understand, to identify, investigate, and prosecute gun traffickers and other bad actors.
However, you are correct that about half of all law enforcement agencies don't use the free resource that we provide for them to trace their crime guns.
Now that's hardly a necessary law enforcement tool, but this is just the beginning. With our allies on Capitol Hill, GOA plans to make these requests a pipe dream for the ATF bureaucrats who are drooling to get their hands on more taxpayer dollars so they can continue to infringe on your rights. We're fighting to make sure the ATF is defunded and abolished so that not only is the agency disbanded, but all the unconstitutional actions they take against Americans won't just be transferred over to some other government agency that's more than happy to infringe on your rights. Now thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest on GOA's fights for your rights.